Hello, everyone. 𝗦𝗘𝗦𝗣𝗘𝗥 here with TishTalksTech, and today we have with us our wonderful guest, Professor Geoffrey Decker, and we have also his two students from NIU, Mark Southwood, as well as Sebastian Lesny. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. As promised, this is going to be a fantastic show. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Good, thank you.
It's so nice to have you here. I'm so happy to have you here. It was so nice to meet you at Share, fellas. It was so nice to meet you. I am so like shook, right? Because you all are seniors. I don't want to waste time. We only have 59 minutes. Only have 59 minutes. I want to just jump right in. IBM champion, professor extraordinaire, the director, the dream maker. Like, we can start naming names of people that have taken classes and that have landed amazing jobs after touching this individual's class. Professor Geoffrey Decker, how are you doing?
I'm very good, but I have to say that you give me way more credit than I deserve.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because these students of mine are dedicated and extraordinary. The students that take assembler and do the mainframe track in the department, it's called enterprise software. They really have a love for something that's been, the basis of all the world's economy for decades now. And they have to be dedicated because things are so different from any of the other programming or classes in programming that they've had. And I'm just so glad to have enthusiasts like both Mark and Sebastian as part of the mainframe world at this point. I think both of them entered my class this summer, my assembler class this summer, without having any idea what they were getting themselves into. And they had no idea that they would end up on Tish Tech Talks, and they'd end up at Share. And I just want to say thank you to them for, they spent their own money to get to Share. And
really?
Yeah.
Not sponsored? This was
at all.
skin in the game? This was all them?
Yep. And we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that and how pitiful that really is in the fact that they had to pay their own way. And, I asked on LinkedIn for some sponsorship for interested students. I had two other students that wanted to come, one really, really badly, but he absolutely could not afford it. And anybody that thinks that students can just ask mommy and daddy for money don't know the real situation. It's hard to afford, but it's a real good thing for them to expend money on, but they shouldn't have to. The world is asking for mainframe developers, young mainframe developers, yet they don't step forward and hire students beginners without 3 years of experience, which is ridiculous. And they also don't sponsor students. And I also offered the opportunity for them the companies, if they're interested in sponsoring, to call these guys and talk to them beforehand, give them like a pre-interview or something. That's got to stop. That's just being cheap. And, these companies, they got to stop being cheap. If they want to get people that know how to do the programming and have been introduced to real mainframe development at the college level, they need to start sponsoring these students of mine and from other places that teach mainframe. They need to be at Share. These guys need to be at Share. These guys and gals need to come to Share.
And so I hear you, Professor Decker. So yeah, I hear you, and I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you so much for that. And wow. I had no idea that we were having the skin in the game the way that we had the skin in the game. So you all paid for your own way.
Mm-hmm.
You took the course. You had no idea. You came out to share. You did your thing. And it's a wrap. And wow, that's amazing. Good for you. Good for you for taking on such an amazing feat. That's pretty heroic. Just to let you all know, we do have chat. We have chat going on. So let's see here. Let's see here. Oh, what's up, Pratap? How you doing? Let's see. Who else we have here? Oh, hello, sir. How you doing? That's Jeff. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And hey, Darren. Thank you. Shout out to Darren Search. So let's get straight in. Who are these individuals? And before we even get there, I just want to ask, why are people calling CICS kicks? Is it really kicks like the cereal, or kicks like kicking a ball, or is it CICS?
I call it CICS because that's
Okay.
what I grew up with. And if you wanted to go to the point where you're going to make an acronym out of every abbreviation, it can get ridiculous.
Okay.
Like IBM wouldn't be IBM, it would be IBM. And and VSAM, which is kind of an acronym, would be VISM. And it just gets ridiculous. So I always call it CICS. And I know there are going to be a lot of people say, it's kicks. But no, I call it CICS. Still.
Okay, so if you're in the chat, if you're watching, if it's kicks, type KIX. And if it's CICS, you can go ahead and type CICS. Let's go ahead and get into it. Tell us about your students. Introduce your students, please.
Okay. Well, I've already said that they were enrolled in my summer assembler class. And like I said, they had no idea what they were getting into. The horror stories around the halls at NIU's Department of Computer Science about assembler and how hard it is and how awful it is and how much they're going to hate it. I mean, they all hear it. And I try to make it as painless as possible. They had to learn 16 weeks worth of assembler in 8 weeks. So it's a fast-paced class in the summer, and they do everything in the summer class that they do in the fall and spring semesters classes. So they both did real well, and I'm very proud of them. And the fact that they also became so enthusiastic about what they did in the class is really important. Both of them, Sebastian was in my office a lot, and during my office hours, and that just shows supreme dedication. Mark is more busy than Sebastian, I think, in his outside responsibilities. So I didn't see him as often. But the thing is I make it a requirement to come to class, and the only reason I do that is because I've got experience. They learn better, and I don't have to redo private lectures. And they have to ask fewer questions if they come to class. All I ask of my students is that they email me if they're not able to make it. And both of these guys were either there or several times during the summer, maybe emailed me to say, I can't make it, there's something going on. And that's okay. But these guys were always there, dedicated, and really picked up the materials. And I'm thankful for that. And I think they should both be IBM ambassadors, Z ambassadors. So we're going to work on that too.
That's the next step. Sounds good. So let's start. Let's hear from you all. Let's start with Mark. I'll go left to right from my screen. Mark, tell me about yourself.
So actually, oddly enough, my parents actually met at a school for the old punch card programming. It was Electronic Computer Programming Institute. Neither one of them actually ended up going forward with it, but it was something where at a very young age, I was always, I grew up in the personal computer age. I had Commodore 64. That's where I learned how to program BASIC. I had a i486. I remember taking apart my parents' Packard Bell that was, I think, 100 megahertz and putting it back together. When they were at work one day, they were a little bit mad at me, but when it worked, they were fine with it.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I mean, I was bored. I felt, I was like, okay, let me just see if I can figure this out. And I did. But I've always loved, working with computers. I even started a web design business at 16 so I could pay for the Sega Genesis I really wanted. And so it was just one of those goals I had. I'm like, okay, well, this is how I can do it. And not everybody trusted me at young age, but I actually did have some clients and it went really well. And then going to school at NAU, like Mr. Decker said, didn't really have any idea about the mainframe aside from kind of the horror stories I'd heard, just like he said. But the more I got into it, the more I saw I liked it, and talked a little bit about Cher, I think, in the hallway one day. And then from there, it kind of, kept snowballing, and here I am.
Love that. Love that. And so when it was time for the assembler class, how did that feel?
So I was a little bit anxious because everybody mentioned that that's going to be the toughest class you take at NIU. A friend of mine had to take it twice previously that I knew, and so I was asking him, a little bit of his experience, things like that. I thought I wasn't going to like it as much as I did, honestly. I thought, it's, a lot of people say it's like learning a new language, like learning Latin or something like that. But I actually like the procedural part of it. You aren't sitting there for hours setting up a framework, and then you finally get to write some code. You get to go right into it and start interacting with the system.
Very good. Very good. Sounds good and really exciting. What about you, Sebastian?
Oh man. Me, so sorry, I'm a little nervous here, but
don't be nervous. You're amongst friends.
I know. So I didn't initially start out with computers. So I grew up first generation immigrant parents. I grew up speaking Polish. I was I still speak Polish to this day with my parents. Funny enough, my dad was telling me when I was talking with the people from IBM when I was in Share, he was like, "Yeah, I used to make the frames for their computers way back in the 90s. I used to actually work in the factory putting them together."
Get
I was
out of
like,
town.
"That's crazy." Yeah, he never told me this until just recently, so I was like, "Wow, I didn't even know." But yeah, like I was saying, I never initially started out with computers, so I'm a very technical person by nature. I love to figure out how things work. I'm a very detailed person. Originally, I started out with cars, and my passion always has been cars. And so I've always wanted to figure out how they work. I've been working, on cars with my dad all the time. He's been teaching me the ropes and stuff like that, and doing all that. And it wasn't until high school where I started getting into computers, and I actually ended up taking an IT class in high school. And they taught, and essentially in high school they gave us all the Asus Chromebooks, and they taught us how to fix them, how to fix all the software issues and all that stuff. And that's kind of really where it started. It's just the kind of the technical side with hardware side with computers. That's where I got into it. And then coming to NIU, initially started as an engineer. I was like, this isn't for me. I decided to make the switch to computer science because that's always just kind of been a hidden passion there of mine. Love just doing it. Been through a few of the classes, the C++ classes, but once I really got into assembler, I was like, this is my stuff because I'm a big detail person. I love how in detail you can get with assembler, how you can really manipulate the hardware and how it all works together.
I love that. Y'all just, the story. It's the story part. It's that piece, and to hear it come full circle. And I always love to hear how people always go back to their parents. When folks ask me about my story, I always reach back and I'm like, yeah, it was my mom. It was sitting in the computer room at CTC with my strawberry shortcake blanket with my mom, right? And then here you all, you know, it was my parents. Yeah, my parents did that. And then it comes down to you. And now here we are, full circle, right? That's beautiful. And it's just made you into these individuals now that you're super technical, making your way, finding out that, yeah, this is for me. It's scratching that theoretical itch that you have. And now you're finding out that it's super cool and it's something that you want to do. Right? Oh, that's so neat. So, look, I can do this all day. Let's get into chat. We have some folks. Oh boy, here we are. So, Caitlin says it's CICS. And Rudraj, definitely CICS is better. Caitlin is saying hats off to you all. Snowballing is great. Love that. Sherry says hi. So hi to everybody. And Darren is saying that car tinkering does make for a very good mainframe career. I want to get into our next question because this is really important.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to someone interested in learning about what you've learned about? Because sometimes, you know, you can look back and even though you're just starting, right? Like we all are just starting. But even though we're just starting, how would you tell next semester's students that this is where they need to be? And I just kind of want to start with Sebastian. How would you do that?
So what's interesting is I'm having this conversation with my girlfriend because she's also a computer science major.
Cool.
And she's taking Professor Decker's class actually this coming semester. And, you know, she's all panicky. She's like, I'm really nervous. I've seen the stuff you've been doing. It looks crazy and it looks like a lot. And I'm
Scary.
just telling her, I'm like, just relax. You know, you got to take your time. You really got to focus. You got to just kind of pay attention to, you know, what Professor Decker is saying, because he is definitely like really good at what he does in teaching, but just learning the material in general, it just takes patience, honestly. It just takes practice and patience, just kind of a little more than any other language, but definitely still language.
It's nothing they've ever done before.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's very surprising and shocking in many, many ways. Even the development environment is different than a lot of things they've ever used before.
Right. The buzz is buzzing, Professor. The buzz is buzzing. What about you, Mark?
I would say the most important thing is to just don't listen to all the noise out there that's anti-mainframe. I definitely got quite a bit of that before I started the class, and it was in the back of my head. And it's, you know, anybody that I talk to that I know that's in the industry and I tell them, hey, I'm taking assembler, they're like, why are you taking that? And, you know, I know Mr. Decker always likes saying that the people that don't like it are the people that can't do it. And maybe that's not always the case, but that's a good line. And I like that because ultimately it taught me a lot, you know, better, you know, understanding of how the storage and memory works. And it's a tool that I have that a lot of other people now don't have. And I see that as a benefit to me. And so don't look at, you know, like I said, the noise, just do your own research and, you know, you'll come to the conclusion, hopefully, that I did, that this is actually pretty important.
It's the tool that I have that other people don't have.
Absolutely.
Okay, can we put that on a shirt? It's the tool that I have that other people don't have.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
That's a really good one.
Assembler, the tool I have that others don't have.
Okay. Because mainframe.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
JCL. You could put anything on.
You put anything on there. Yeah. But it's so cool because, and I think that's one of the things that folks just don't understand. I had somebody tell me the other day, for a matter of fact, yesterday, somebody came into the DM and was like, well, you know, I know that you told me to do the Explorer, but that's not, you know, people aren't busting down my door. I said, well, did you do it? No. Did you get a badge? No. Are you in school? No. I said, get out my I can't. I can only do but so much, right?
Yeah.
But it's the fact of the matter is that we have to try, and you have to do your best. And here we are again. This is a skill that I have that others don't have, right? So, I like that. I like that a lot. Let me ask you this, and that brings us to our next question, which is misconceptions. Misconceptions. There's folks that think that mainframe is antiquated. Can you all tell me with what you learned from Share? Okay, thinking back on our awesome time at Share and we sit in on. I saw you all on a lot of the talks from across the room, and so how can you honestly, what is your honest opinion about some of the misconceptions? I can't talk about some of the misconceptions about enterprise computing now. What is your opinion? How can you tell folks that this is not an antiquated piece of technology? Anybody, doesn't matter. Whoever wants to go first.
Weren't there over 500 sessions?
There was tons of sessions, over 500. Yes.
Yeah, in 5 days, I think. That alone is amazing. And it's all about mainframe. Every
last one of them.
Bit of it. And if there's that many thousands of people and hours of sessions twice a year at Share alone, there are people in mainframe. That's all there is to it. And it's important. It is the basis of the world's economy. It's the foundation of the world's economy. So, I mean, it's important. That's all there is to it. And there are lots of jobs out there for young people. Lots of jobs. All of us old guys are retiring at some point, and
that's it.
They got to have them.
That's it. What do you think? What do you think, Sebastian?
I think it's interesting to say that, that the mainframe is becoming obsolete and all that stuff, and it's going away. And then it's obviously not the truth, because how many people I've met at Share and how many sessions there were, there's obviously progress that's being made with the mainframe world, and definitely it's still, of course, kicking. I mean, can't really take it away, can't replace it, because it's such a powerful tool.
It's kicking.
Not what I meant.
Ever tell that joke again, Geoffrey?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sebastian. No, that was
but there's definitely other events as well too. I know IBM does their event as well. I can't remember what it's called.
Tech Exchange?
Yeah, they do their event. So I mean, they have all these things that are going on. You can't really say that it's it's going away. I mean, all these companies, doing wonderful stuff and really cool stuff. When I went to a few of the presentations, I was like, that's really cool what you can do with it,
Mm-hmm.
And so.
And what was your favorite presentation?
I'm a little biased to the hardware stuff, so when I saw that there was a hardware talk of the Z16, I was like, that's my thing. I'm gonna go to that. And I was loving every minute of it, just being able to learn exactly how everything works, how everything's connected together, how huge the processor is in the Z16. It was like that big in my hand when the presenter brought out all the chips and stuff. I was like, this is really cool.
Your face is just lighting up as you speak about it. That's a telltale sign. You're in. You're hooked now. What about you, Mark?
So, I mean, the thing that I noticed was, despite everybody think it's antiquated, everybody thinks that it's a dinosaur. I heard that reference a few times.
Wow.
There was a lot of talk of change there. There was a lot of new features. There was a lot of new, for instance, I had no idea that Linux was as popular on the mainframe. I had, no idea they were opening up things like Python and other programming languages to the mainframe. It's not just, the assembler, the COBOL, things like that. And pretty much all of the sessions I went to, there was that theme of change. We're not staying and doing the same thing. Even the new version of the mainframe itself, all sorts of new features, things like that. And that right there tells me, if it was really dying, if it was really antiquated, we'd just be, supporting it. We wouldn't be actually optimizing and making new things happen from it.
Optimizing. Yes, that's it. And so what was your favorite session?
So I apologize, I forgot the name, but the presenter was Joshua Powell. He was giving kind of his career path in the mainframe, and he referenced it to a Zelda game on Game Boy that I actually played, and so that really hit home with me. He showed the tiny map that you have when you start, and then how big the map gets when it's done, and he kind of showed some of the other paths that he took, some of the languages he was looking at, and that just really resonated with me because that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for that path. I'm just starting on that small map right now, and I need to get to that bigger map. And it was just a really good analogy for me, and it really hit home for me.
That's good. That's good. I hear it. So tell me this, you all. How did you hear about Share? How did you hear about it? Because it's not something that you just, hey, I'm just going to wake up one day and know that there's a Share conference. How did you hear about it?
For me, it was after class. I was talking to Mr. Decker, and he mentioned it because he could tell that me and a few of the other students wanted to learn more and wanted to engage more. And he mentioned it. I remember taking a note of it on my phone, went home that night, took a little bit of research on it and things like that. And then I think the next class I talked to him some more about it. And at that point, I was pretty much sold.
Very cool. And you, Sebastian?
So it's really funny because I was never directly told at first about this. Professor Decker brought it up in class, asking Mark about it or something, just giving a small update about it. And I go to him after class. I'm like, "What was that you guys were talking about? It sounds interesting." Then Professor Decker told me more about Share, and I was like, "That'd be really cool if I could come along." And he was like, "Yeah, go to their website. You can register and all that stuff." And I went to Share.
Wow.
It wasn't even a plan at first.
I mentioned it to Mark, and we talked in the hallway, I guess maybe over the break or something. Next thing I know, he was telling me he'd already bought his tickets. He'd already registered, bought his plane ticket and his hotel room, and he was ready to go. And that's probably before I even got back to Sebastian about it. So I don't remember the order of things, but I found out about Share many, many years ago from Dr. Robert Randy, my mentor.
Yeah, that's your mentor. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then also Mike Stack, who they're both pretty famous in the Share world. Mm-hmm. They're both retired now and don't go anymore, but that's how I found out about it. They're constantly talking about it.
Right.
So it's a great event.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so Share offers students free admission, but you have to get there. And so that's the thing. You got to get there. You got to be able to eat, and you have to be able to sleep. So that's the whole thing, right? Is like your room, your board, your travel. So that's a thing. I'm very happy that you all were able to get there and that you had the experience that you had. So what would you say to other students about attending these types of conferences, especially the Share conference, if they are looking for enterprise computing? And even if they're not looking into enterprise computing, what would you say about the Share conference to them?
I would say it's worth it. And I know that's simple, but it's something where the first night, after the first expo, with all the different companies there that you're able to network. Like you said, even if you're not looking for this career, just the experience of standing in front of somebody and talking to them, and not just standing there and blank look on your face, things like that, it all helps. And it's something where the community at Share was, very inviting, very passionate, and it's something where you really weren't nervous, or at least I wasn't. It was one of those things where you just felt welcomed, and they didn't know who you were, what your plans were. They just knew you were a student. And I think maybe in the first day I didn't have my student badge, so they may not have even known that. But it was very inviting.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Mark on that. Everybody was so nice and friendly, and just everyone was very welcoming, and they seem pretty happy that students are coming into the mainframe world and definitely interested. And going to Share was a really good experience, and I definitely want to go to more Share conferences, because talking with everybody, getting to meet everybody, it was wonderful, truly. And I'm really glad I went, and being able to just network was honestly fantastic.
That's awesome. Can I ask you something that a lot of folks don't ask the students? How can we get other students to come?
Paying their way would help. I know Mr. Decker referenced that. At the end of the day, I don't mind sharing this. It was about $850 for me, flight and hotel. You had food on top of that. It was probably $1,000 all day. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody maybe sees the value in that. That was the big thing for me, is seeing the value in it. It's not, it's not a vacation. It's not a conference. It's an investment in my career. And I feel like if that was shown to students more, or, they actually, maybe had companies actually come. I know we've got an event coming up at NIU, that will definitely help to get more, more word out there. It's really, about what you put into it. And that's why I decided to go.
Okay.
Yeah. The sad thing is that I posted on LinkedIn, and I have a lot of contacts on there, that I have students that are interested in attending Share. And I got a response. I don't think I got a response from a single company about offering to pay flight and hotel expenses. And I think that's just pitiful. And then these companies will, will complain about not finding people that are at the beginning of their careers in mainframe.
Right. Well, hold on just a second, Geoffrey. Hold on just a second. Hold on. Sebastian, how do you think that we can get more students to come?
Just definitely helping them out financially, really, to come into this, because I spent an upwards of $1,000 as well too. Upwards of 1,000 coming to New Orleans, Share New Orleans, because and it was rough for me, especially too, because not much change in the pocket, to put it lightly. And it was,
the change was jingle, it didn't fold.
Yeah, it was definitely a big investment for me. I do see it worth it, but it was heavy financially, is the best way I could put it, really. And I feel like if you help, if companies or whoever would be willing to help students come out, they would definitely incentivize them to come.
Yes.
Now, Geoffrey, you were saying, complete your thought. I just want to make sure that I didn't cut you off too soon.
No, that's okay. I just said that not a single company responded to my request, and it's really important that we get these students there. And Dr. Owar from Albany State, he was able to get his students there, and it's my understanding that he had some funding for that. And I would really like to be able to do the same. I'm not going to get it from NIU, because we know that whole story about they're trying to were at one time, and probably still are, trying to change the curriculum and make assembler not a requirement for all undergrad. And that's going to cut back on the number of students that go on to my second level class. So that's a whole other story. But the thing is we need to get students there so these companies can interview them, pre-interview them. And the nice thing about Share is at that those 3 nights of the reception in the evenings at Share, where all the exhibitors are there and talking with people, that brings everybody down to the same level. We're all at the same level. Even the executives that are there show themselves as being so friendly and so willing to talk with young people. And I find that to be a great opportunity, And I thank them from the bottom of my heart for being as friendly and as approachable as they could be to my students and to Dr. Owar's students from Albany State. It was a great experience. Everything I hear about that was a great experience. So now let's get them some jobs. Let's get them some really good jobs. And
it was a beautiful thing. I saw so many people speaking to the students down at the expo. It was as if, and everybody that I've spoken to, I was like, do you guys have jobs? Did you guys get offers? Because everybody was speaking to these students. Like,
yeah.
I was just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Share did a hands down awesome job with that.
And a lot of it that's really good is that they treated these young students like they were colleagues rather than interviewees. And I think that's great too.
It was just conversation.
And even in the presentations, they just, they answered their questions the same way they would have answered the questions if they were working mainframers.
Yeah. It was pretty good. From the outside looking in, I was so proud. I just looked and I was just like, this is beautiful. It was great. Let's see. So what about challenges? What challenges do you think that students face when learning some of the technology now that you all kind of have a taste? What do you students think?
I'll start off with kind of just going off of with like assembler, for example, because we're taught IBM's 370 assembler. So the assembler is, I would say, it is more difficult than regular not regular, excuse me, but like any other language, like I've taken C++ at NIU. I've taken Swift classes as well too. That's for like iOS programming, and it's a lot more difficult, and that's definitely just a challenge. There's a lot more detail to it. You have to be precise with what you're doing. You have to make sure every keystroke is correct. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. And if you don't have the patience for it, it's not going to work out if there's no patience involved.
You can't be fuzzy with it.
Not at all. You got to be combed perfectly.
That's it. What about you, Mark?
I remember Mr. Decker always saying, every bit or every byte matters. And that's, in most languages, you're worried about a colon versus semicolon. You're worried about a comma versus, some other punctuation to, get you what you need to do. You're worried about that. Plus, you're worried about exactly where you're at in the storage. You're worried about exactly where you are in the program. And debugging is a lot different in assembler than it is in a lot of the other languages. And it's something, though, that you have to keep, like anything else, just keep doing it, keep, practicing it. And as Darren's saying, that mindset is absolutely required for this.
That's it. You have to have that mindset. And when you sit down, you got to be ready. You have to be ready. And if you're not ready, it will help you to get there, won't it?
It will. Yep.
Geoffrey, what's your suggestion to the students for next semester? What's your suggestion to them to get them ready? Do you ever tell them, don't come to my class not ready? I know you don't say that.
No, you know what? I'm so thankful that they're there. And I'm so thankful, especially when they're in the upper level mainframe course, which is what these two are going to be doing. this semester and in the spring. And it's really, I'm just very thankful. This semester in that upper level class, I have 42 students, 42 upper level mainframe class students.
Wow.
And we're going to have fun. We're going to be doing some COBOL with DB2 at the end of the semester. And I'm going to be pushing them kind of hard this semester and next. And that's because I want to get through COBOL with DB2 and do some SQL in COBOL. So it's a lot of fun. You just have to approach it with an open mind, and you have to work hard. That's the most important part.
That's a lot of folks.
It is. In fact, we have a program where we bring in Harper college students from the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and they're going to be online at the same time or concurrently with the 28 students that we have on campus. So I'll be teaching online at the same time that I'm teaching in class. That's a little bit restrictive because I have to sit at my computer and work. I like to draw on the board. On the whiteboard.
You're kinetic.
I like to walk around, and I like to, stand in front of the podium desk and talk with students and walk around and ask questions. But, it's a little restricting in that way. But those students learn just as well as those in class. So I'll be doing a lot of examples up on the projector and online, sharing my screen. So it'll be good.
It'll be good.
42? Wow. I'm just so happy about that. It's getting better and better. So I guess people are getting the message.
Well, I've seen what you can do. So I know, the online element is going to be popping, and as well as everybody that's in person. It's going to be amazing. I know that it's going to be amazing.
They're going to learn COBOL. I mean, in one semester, they learn the basics of JCL. They write their own assembler and compiler compilation and assembly steps, binder steps, fetch and execute steps. Then they learn the entire language of COBOL, all in one semester. And then they do assembler with queued sequential access method, or QSAM. And then we're going to get into subprograms and external linkage, where we have COBOL calling assembler, assembler calling COBOL, and dynamically and statically linked programs. And then we get into COBOL with DB2. So it's a lot to learn in a semester, but it's very beneficial. And they'll know things that a lot of their colleagues at the beginning level don't know. They're going to be the ones that some people go to at the very beginning. They're going to be mentoring others that are starting their careers.
That's it.
That's what I've experienced and found. So if I had more time, I would bring in more modernization topics and other fun things that are going on. But I don't have time. I've always wanted a second semester so I could bring in more topics. COBOL used to be a class of its own here at NIU. Used to be a class of its own. And they now stuck COBOL into the middle of this other class that I now teach. So I had to remove some things. We used to study a lot more IBM utilities and so forth, but it's okay.
It's okay.
We get it done. We get it done. These folks are ready to go to work. I can't say that more strongly. They're ready to go to work. They can step into a position and start doing it. That's all there is to it.
So speaking of work, do you all have any job offers yet?
Not currently, no.
Get ready.
Yes.
Get ready. Do you have an idea of what you would like to do? That's not fair, is it?
I mean, it kind of is. I mean, I definitely notice it shared. There's quite a few different things. I went to a storage class that was completely different than the software development that we're doing in class, and I as much as I like that, I think, that showed me also that, hey, I really do like the software development side of this. And there's a lot of tools and utilities that work well with the system.
Ooh. Okay. I see you. And Sebastian, I think I know the answer.
Huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer.
I definitely want to do a lot of hands-on programming. What exactly I want to do? I mean, I don't have exactly a, like a must-do kind of position, but just anything where I could honestly get hands-on with code and working at it, I definitely would love to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And wow, your future is so bright. If I had my Ray-Bans up here, I think they're down in the car, but I would wear them for you. That is so cool. Now, let's flip it a little bit. Let's just flip it just a tiny bit and get into these hobbies, because awesome careers mean that you are very well-rounded. What do you like to do for fun?
I guess I'll go first. So I grew up playing tabletop games like Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, which I think definitely lends itself to this career. Like what I said about optimizing before, I'll sit there and create a character. Maybe sometimes takes longer than I actually play. Sometimes it's because I like to read all the different books, find all the different facets that you can implement within that. But then other than that, strategy video games, Civilization series, the XCOM series, those are usually the two that take up my time when I do have the free time to play them.
Very good. What about you, Sebastian?
So, besides working on cars and kind of messing with stuff, and messing with computers as well too, that's also another thing I like to do. I constantly break windows on my laptop because I'm always messing with things that I shouldn't be touching.
Yeah.
But besides that, I do enjoy a lot of racing. So like Formula One, that is my big thing. I do a lot of virtual racing. So like on a simulator, I have one at home. I do a lot of that on my free time. A lot of driving,
Mm-hmm.
and like any other boy, I like to just play some video games.
Very cool. I like racing too. A lot.
Yeah, I saw your post on LinkedIn about Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, a Mercedes.
Absolutely. Mercedes. Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me started, because this ain't what we want today. But yeah, I do like racing a lot. So what do you guys like to eat?
I'm more steak and potatoes guy. I've had really good steak at Drago's down there. That was really good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what about you?
Complete no bias of my Polish heritage, but I love pierogies. Love them.
Those are good.
They are my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely the potato pierogies. Those are my favorite. The cheese and potato.
Nice. Very good. And do you have pets?
I have 2 dogs. Lola, who you probably heard at the very beginning of the session, she barked because she was like, "What are you doing? Why are you talking to your computer like that?" And then Kaya as well. So one's a black and tan coonhound, and the other is an Old English bulldog.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And what about you, Sebastian?
I have a saltwater fish tank, so there's a lot of I wouldn't call them plant life because like sea anemones and all those kinds of things, they're still technically animals, but they kind of behave more like plants. They just like to move every once in a while. But besides that, I have 2 clownfish in there just for now. I like to sometimes get some other fish, and then the sea anemone can be kind of violent with other fish. One small touch from another fish, it just pulls it in and eats it. It can be kind of a disaster with other fish. So,
well, they have their own neighborhood, and it sounds like they're good.
Yeah, the clownfish definitely rule the aquarium, is what I'm gonna say.
Oh wow, that is hilarious. And tell me this: Now, what other podcasts or television shows do you all like to view beside mine?
There's a YouTube channel. I'm forgetting the name. I should really know it because it's one of my favorite YouTube channels. But there's a guy who does a lot of like a virus kind of deep dives. He will look into viruses and he will pull up a virtual machine and he'll just unleash it onto the virtual machine, and he goes in depth about what it's doing, where everything is going, where things are coming from, and all that stuff. And I think it's really cool to kind of see what is going on with something so malicious like viruses, like computer
Wow.
viruses.
Wow. You don't know the name of it?
No, I'm blanking right now. I can't remember. I
Ah!
remember the guy's name, but I don't remember his channel name.
What's his name?
I know his name is Mudahar. That one is for sure. He does.
Okay.
The virus stuff is like a small part of what he does. He does all sorts of general stuff too, and he likes to. He's been on this like alien binge. He loves aliens and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
What about you, Mark?
So as far as like for a blog, I subscribe to the BBC Tech Decoded. They email that to you like once a week, and I really like that because it's a good way to quickly keep up to date with what's going on in the industry and things like that. As far as like a podcast, I've been listening to the show's name is Responsible Gamer. It's a psychiatrist that talks not only about gaming but just also mental health issues and things like that. It's really he does a really good job, and so when I have a chance, I definitely like listening to that.
That's cool. It's really good. And let's see, what about books and movies? What are you reading right now?
I had just finished. I can't remember the author. I'm so bad with this. Blood Meridian is the book.
That's Cormac McCarthy.
Yes, McCarthy. That's who it was. I just had finished that book. Really good book. I was just reading it when I had the chance before classes, before I started going to Professor Decker's office all the time. I'd just be kind of outside waiting, just kind of sitting on the sidewalk and just reading because our computer science building doesn't have any benches outside.
Oh, no.
Which I've been complaining about constantly. So I wish they had some benches, but I'm trying to get a start on For Whom the Bell Tolls by Ernest Hemingway. I believe, is that correct? I wanted to get a start on that. That's been on my radar for quite a bit. So,
very cool. What about you, Mark?
So book-wise, right now, it's unfortunately not as exciting. It's programming books. I'm brushing up on my C++ for my class next semester. For shows, recently watching, it's called Outer Range on Amazon. It's kind of interesting. Whole develops in the guy's ranch, and apparently it's some sort of time portal. So not going to give away any other spoilers than that, but it seems pretty interesting.
We love the sci-fi. That's cool. Very nice. And then I guess let me find out, what about social media platforms? Because that's really huge right now as far as getting your info. What platforms do you think are important right now? What's hot as far as student point of view?
YouTube is a definite.
Yep.
A lot of tech channels talking about, what's going on. Tech channels doing tutorials and whatnot, and what's new, what's going on, how to do things. Just demonstrations about, hardware, software.
What about you, Mark?
Definitely LinkedIn. I know that's the easy answer, for looking for a career, things like that. For more, being social, more fun. I've been doing Be Real a lot more lately. I like that a lot more than the other platforms because it's, you're not writing a paragraph about what's going on. You're literally just taking a picture of you in the moment, and you can't see other people's until you actually post. So there's just a little bit of a, social contract there where you have to do this in order to actually see everybody else. And the other platforms, honestly, I've kind of gravitated away from them because I've seen them more as a time sink than anything else. As much as you can get lost in them, you don't really gain anything from it. So,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
true.
Mm-hmm. And Professor Decker, what do you think about social media? What are you thinking? What's your take?
Well, you know what? I just read, I think the BBC just posted something online about BBC News about how cool LinkedIn has become. It's not so nerdy anymore. I think that's what I just recently read. And it's not just for business application anymore, and business business connections, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I love Facebook. It's connected me with people that I haven't seen since kindergarten, and for example, and that was 56 years ago. Was that correct? Yeah, kindergarten was 55 or 56 years ago. So I like LinkedIn a lot more than I used to, and it's just because it's put me in connection with people like you, Letitia, and Cameron, and Dr. Say, and others, and it's been great. It's been great. I'm on LinkedIn probably more than Facebook anymore.
Really?
Yeah. But I was going to say something about Sebastian's reading Blood Meridian. Howard Bloom, a famous critic, said, he's the late Howard Bloom, he said that Blood Meridian is the most important novel of the 20th century. Now, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but that's a very interesting thing to say. What do you think about his lack of punctuation, Sebastian?
It was, the book was definitely hard to read, I will say. It was,
And it's bloody.
It threw me through a loop because, like, especially when characters are talking to one another, it's hard to, like, I'll have to reread a page because I'm like, who's saying this?
Yep.
Who's talking?
Yep.
Oh,
Well, the thing is, he wrote No
Country for Old Men, I think is it?
Yes, he did. No Country for Old Men. And if you've seen that movie, for one thing, you'll know how bloody it is. So he recently passed away, but it's a great book. It's a great book. So.
Wow. Well, you all listen. For me, I want to say two things. The first is LinkedIn is awesome. And the second thing is, if you want to learn something, get you a YouTube account.
Mm-hmm.
There's people in other parts of the world that sit up and watch YouTube, and now they're CEOs of huge companies.
And now they're watching you guys.
Yep. Now they're watching you.
Uh-huh.
So look, I am just tickled pink and as happy as a glass of peach tea with Sonic Ice in it. If you don't know what Sonic Ice is, you don't have a Sonic near you. I love it that y'all are in school. You're doing your thing, and you're crushing it. It is so cool to have met you at Share and to have listened to your stories, spent a little time with you, saw you mingling and doing your thing on the floor. That is very difficult to do. If y'all have ever been out and about and tried to talk to folks and you're trying to do your thing and network in person, it is difficult. Not everybody can do it. These individuals, as well as some of the other students, the students from Albany State, were just out there. They were ready. Y'all just hit the ground running, handshaking, fist bumping, high fiving folks. Hi, how you doing? My name is. It was awesome, and I love to see it. And everybody is just so prepared and ready to go. And just from your your expressions today. I really appreciate your expressions. And thank you for sharing them with us. Really. Thank you so much. I want to thank the folks in chat as well for coming through. Thank you, Sherry and Darren, Prataj, and Caitlin and Rudraj, Rita, and Darren Search. Did I miss anybody? No, I don't think so. I want to thank Mark Southwood. I want to thank Sebastian Lesny. I want to thank Professor Geoffrey Decker. And all of you. Thank you for everybody that reposted this wonderful session today. What did I say? I said it was going to be good. I'll try to do this more often. If you are a student and if you attended Share, this is where you want to be. If you are a student and you are interested in enterprise computing, reach out. I'd love to talk to you. Here we are, another week. So yeah, and just before we go, can I share with y'all, did I show y'all this? This is what I got from Lionel. Did I show y'all that? Can you see it?
Oh my, that's cool.
Awesome.
He gave this to me and gave it to, well, I think I had to go to sleep. But Sherry, he gave it to Sherry because I had to go. And Sherry gave it to me and she was like, look. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then I went up to him the next day and I said, I had to run, but Sherry gave it to me. And I was just like, that's cool. So neat. So I have to put it on the Love Me wall. And y'all know I've got the Love Me wall coming pretty soon. Where I'm going to mount all the stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to share that and say thank you to him because I did not have the opportunity, and it is very important to say thank you when people do nice things. Because my mama raised me right.
Well, and thank you for having us on the show. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, y'all. Thank you for coming.
I'm so proud of these two. And so they need to get hired, and they better be real soon.
I have faith that they will be. Y'all are really talented, and you were explaining stuff to me about what you had learned, and I was like, really? You can do that? Really? And I had to look at Geoffrey and say, why didn't you ever tell me that? I didn't know. But you know what? I didn't know to ask. And so, you know, good for you. Good for you. Good things are going to happen. And and I forgot Jeff Abney. Thanks for coming into chat as well. Y'all be on the lookout. And I know that in your NIU is going to have a job fair. Is that right? You guys are doing a career fair. When is that?
September 20th, but we're going to have a meeting of informal meeting between students and prospective employers earlier in the day before the career fair.
Okay.
So the last time I checked, there were 8 spots left at the career fair that afternoon. So they have to contact NIU Career Services. And if you just look it up on the internet, you can find the address and the phone number and everything, and a place to register.
Okay, so employers have to register for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't have to register for the previous event that I'm organizing with Greg Debo of 𝗬𝗏𝗡 Consulting. That's going to be an informal event with pizza and pop, and should be a really good opportunity for students.
Okay, that's awesome. And I'll have the link to all of that. Is that right? I'll have the link to that on the YouTube description, so you all can be able to reference that if you need to. And yeah, so you can be able to connect, because you said 42 students this semester, and then there's students that are going to be coming out.
Oh, I've got more than that. I've got like 110 mainframe students this semester.
What?
Yeah, in the 2 sections of assembler, and then the 42 in my advanced mainframe class.
There are more?
Yep.
There's people out here that are ready to go.
Yep. They will be real soon. So, yeah, I'll provide you that link.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
There's people that are ready. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you, Sebastian. And thank you, Professor Decker. I'll go ahead and land this plane, our jumbo jet called TishTalksTech. I'd like to thank everybody. We went over a little bit. I don't regret a thing. It's been cool. It's been live. I really do appreciate all of y'all for hanging out with me. Please come and join us again next week. Same time, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, where we'll be joined by somebody that you'll have to guess who. But guess what? It's going to be somebody that you do not want to miss. And I'm teasing it right now. Right now. You are going to want to see that show. And last but not least, thank you so much for joining. It has been a pure pleasure. And we will have more students on in 3 weeks. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.